time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, a very good day to one and all. Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Lewis Jones. We're going to be talking soccer. Got some big games in England and Italy. Market moves. We'll be highlighting weekend winners and losers as well. Hopefully, you had a good weekend when it came to your investments. Make sure you tag us in at Because We Win on Instagram and on X. The newsletter is there for you as well, bettingweeklystudios.com. Make sure you get that into your inbox every single Monday and Friday, or is it Thursday night? It's early week and it's late week. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Hit the subscribe button. If you're dropping onto us for the first time, let us know what you think. Let us know what you're betting on this Monday. Lewis, how are you? How was your betting weekend?
Hello, Dan. Good to see you. Good to see everyone today. Yeah, my betting weekend. I'd say the worst of my season, actually. I'm gonna go that far in terms of bad beats. I was actually going to phone up Nigel this morning and say, look, I'm just handing my CV. I'm handing my resignation letter in here from all sports betting commitments because I'm just giving up because it was one of those weekends to think, really, do I need to put myself through this sort of stress that we do? But this is part of the game and we love it. I mean, I'll just run you a couple through the bad beats. I was on West Ham double chance away at Brighton. They were 2-1 up on 89 minutes and somehow managed to lose the game. Both teams to score, no. Bournemouth versus Manchester United. Manchester United equalised in the 97th minute, I think.
Nasty.
And just to cap it off in the final game as well, the Super Sunday game, quite fancied an early goal in that game. And I was thinking Spurs took a big price here just to score in the first 10 minutes. I think it was like plus the 1,300 or something. Dominic Solanke scores, didn't he? Yeah, 12 minutes he scored on. So that bet did not cop either. So it was just one of those where I'm not sure I was too far away, if that makes sense.
You were right, but you lost money.
Yeah, exactly. And they're sometimes you want to be just put out your misery early, don't you? You'd rather say if you back both teams to score, no, you want it to be 1-1 after about 30 seconds, just so you can put that in the loser pile and move on with your life. But it was just the emotional roller coaster of these bad beats. It's a good learning. It's obviously a good learning curve for any punter to go through. I've been through them many times before, obviously, but it's always a good weekend just to give you a little bit of a reminder of how the betting gods can work sometimes. Yeah, exactly. And I had a good weekend the previous one before, so maybe it's just a little bit of karma, a little bit of the betting gods just keeping me in check and just saying you're not as good as you think you are, son. So it was a frustrating one, but I was at Wembley for both the semi-finals actually working on Saturday and Sunday. So. Yeah, really good place to watch games of that magnitude. Palace fans on the Saturday were unbelievable. Forest fans yesterday were sensational as well. And it was a shame Forest couldn't make the final to meet Palace. I think that'd be the final I think everyone wanted, really. But I think Palace would give it a good go against Man City. Still don't think they're anywhere near as watertight as perhaps the results suggest. They were fortunate second half, weren't they? Did you think? I mean, second half, every time Forest went forward, they looked like they could score. So I still think they're vulnerable, I think, City.
Yeah, I think Palace will have a puncher's chance in that final for sure. No doubt about that. Diskey's with us. So is Daniel and Duncan and David and Villa fan. Says missed all 5 shows last week due to work and being abroad. Glad to be back. Great to see you, Dan and Lewis. Brendan says, welcome, Lewis. Good to see you. Brian says, did the Spurs to lead at 20 minutes?
That's how you do
Liverpool? Yeah, that's how you do it. Liverpool, I can't remember.
Is he do it? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm trying to see what.
Did Liverpool equalise?
Maybe it was quite short after, wasn't it?
Was that a winner for you, Brian? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I've forgotten.
Lewis, Diskey says, Lewis, thanks for the over 4.5 goals. Liverpool, Joe says, other than Napoli corner handicap yesterday, it went well. Good stuff. Troy said, Liverpool tied it up in the 16th minute. Oh, mate. Oh,
that's an emotional roller
desperate.
coaster of a bet, that one, isn't it?
That is a Brian. I'm feeling for you. I'm feeling for Lewis, but I'm feeling for Brian as well. Adam says, "Afternoon, gents. Bet Salah to score and Picard at a hard time at 20.
Yes.
Thought it was a masterstroke. Can't believe the shirt didn't come off."
I was expecting it to come off as well.
One of them.
Had a couple of people pinpoint me in that direction of that bet in the week, and there must have been a lot of people on the Salah goal and card for the shirt off, but he kept it on. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, what's wrong with him? Brian said cashed out when scored. Shrewd. It's like I don't generally cash out unless something has changed an awful lot. I wouldn't do it, but with something like that, potentially I would do, because you know that Liverpool didn't really want to lose that game. But it is, that's an interesting.
Actually, I had a good example of that yesterday, actually, Dan, with Tyler Adams, a guy that we spoke about on the show before about his foul committed prices. He gave away a foul quite early doors in the game for Bournemouth today, and I was on the over 1.5 line again, but he was carded for that first foul, so then his game completely changed after he gets the card, and I managed to cash out to get my stake back. And it's just always a good ploy to have. If that first foul results in a card and you're on the 2 foul line, always cash out, because the player always just reins it in a little bit, and the market are affected by that with the cash out. So just a little tip for anyone who's on a fouls bet in play: if they get carded, they get out of the bet, because there's going to be no more coming, if that makes sense, because they play just a little bit more reserved.
Very, very good advice. Noah says, Dan, can I adjust my mic? Less audible today. I've just turned it up. Lewis, can you hear me all right? I've just turned it
loud
up.
And clear.
Right?
Loud and clear.
No, I hope maybe you turn your end up. Adam's talking about the bad beat. Duncan says, surely Butter Glimpse are a bet on Thursday. Tottenham are a shocking outfit. Well, we are going to get Lewis's very quick thoughts at the end of the show when it comes to those European games, because Lewis is on Monday. I don't think you're on for the rest of the week, so we'll grab your European thoughts late on. Noah says it's better now. We try to, we've got these microphones. They sort of sometimes work. Notable winners and losers over the course of the weekend. Our colleagues from Bet Rivers giving us some interesting stats. $40,000 play on the Thunder, -14 against the Grizzlies, which was a loser. So the traders copped the lock then, but they did not when it came to the Pacers, -3. Live, -270. The price against the Bucks, which was a winner. Nuggets on the money line, $21,000 play, -476 against the Clippers. Also a $20,000 play on the Reds on the money line against the Rockies, which was a winner. And also a $20,000 play on the Celtics, -7 against the Magic, was a winner. Some notable soccer winners and losers for you. I might bring Lewis in for this lot. I won't do for the first one, because the first one, Lewis, is $17,000 play on Brighton West Ham on the over 3.25 Asian total. Oh, that would have been a 2-2 would have been all right for you. Sorry, wouldn't it? Yeah, that was -148. That was a winner.
We're not talking about that fixture anymore, Dan. No more, please.
No, sorry. Liverpool Tottenham over 3.5 Asian total live, which was a winner, 15,000. Benjamin Šeško to score +210 in a Frankfurt Leipzig game, which was a loser. A lot of people have him. I'm not quite sure. Lewis Šeško, you cross him at all? I'm not 100% with him in the Premier League. I know Arsenal have been linked.
I've never actually seen him play well, but a lot of people who watch him regularly say he's a special talent. So I'm not on the bandwagon, but he's got a great presence about him. He wasn't great in the Euros either, but I think he was injured. But
interesting what happens to him in the summer. Venezia Milan under 2.5 total goes live, which was a winner, a $10,000 play. And this may well have been Steve Wiss. I don't know if Steve's with us today, tuning in somewhere in Yorkshire. But a $10,000 play on Saint-Etienne on the Asian line, +102 against Strasbourg, which was a loser. I don't know how big Steve's bets, but he's such a Saint-Etienne fan. We've got a specific part of the European show just dedicated to Saint-Etienne. So maybe Steve's had that. I hope it isn't you, Steve, because obviously it was a losing bet. But there you go. Monday live streams. If you've got a Bet Rivers account or on the app, you can watch Leeds versus Bristol City, which we'll talk about shortly. Also, Almeria against Racing Club Ferrol. That's a second-tier game in Spain. Casapia Estoril in the top flight in Portugal. Gothenburg's game against Gais in the Allsvenskan. Needs Steve as well for that one. And hopefully, power permitting, ATP and WTA action in Madrid. I don't know if people are aware of this, but Spain have suffered a huge power cut today. My sister lives in Spain, not being able to contact her. There's no power at all in the vast majority of Spain, Lewis. I hope you not book your holiday to Mallorca.
No, thankfully not. No, I've got a 18-month-old, so no no abroad holidays at the moment, unfortunately, Steve. Dan, of getting not taking them to the airport. Absolutely no chance. They've got a couple of years of just domestic-based holidays at the moment.
Domestic, yeah, bit of Cornwall, hoping for the weather's going to be all right.
Exactly.
What else have we got? Joe says both teams scoring. Which game are you talking about there? Both teams score. Billy says, can VAR please go away? Yeah, he's snooked a lot of people. Joe says Arsenal have to get Gyökeres, their only chance to win the league with him up top. Villa fan Steve was against St Etienne this week, wasn't he? I can't remember. I thought he's always sort of pro sometimes. Chris says, don't talk to me about bad beats. I'm a Carlisle United fan. Had a season on the year. I thought Carlisle might stay up under Mark Hughes. Sparky did well, didn't he, late season, but not quite good enough. Unfortunately. Obviously, Liverpool won the title at the weekend. We were just speaking to Troy and Max, our producers. We were talking about the fact that, anti-post or futures, as we call it, Lewis, there wasn't a lot for Liverpool. We had a $245 wager at plus 550, but the heavy hitters only came in late on Liverpool. They'll be cashing this morning. $4,000 play at minus 400, $4,500 play at minus 455. I thought throughout the autumn that they were probably going to drop away. It didn't happen. Did you invest at all? Did you see them winning it when it was still a value play?
No, I was on the same line of thinking as you, Dan. Really, I'm probably. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because I do think Arsenal fully fit, everyone available. If they play Liverpool tomorrow in a Champions League final, I make Arsenal favourites.
Yeah,
to lift the trophy. So Liverpool have been the best team this season, without a doubt, and they deserve to win the Premier League. But also, I think there's an argument to suggest that Arsenal still can be the better team when everyone's fit. But Arne Slot has done an amazing job to negotiate his way through the season in terms of the staying clear of injuries, rotating his squad where he needs to be. He's done an excellent job with that, and he's got the big guns firing and kept them motivated. And he's worked absolute wonders. And we're not taking anything away from him, but I would still think that Arsenal, if they had a clear run at it this season in terms of injuries and keeping their discipline when they needed to keep their discipline, I think it would have been a little bit closer. But that. You say that to Liverpool fans, and they get a little bit tetchy about that. But I still think that Arsenal, if they played tomorrow, not tomorrow maybe, if Gabriel and Partey was there and Saka was fully fit, everyone blah blah blah, I still think Arsenal would go off favourites. And if there is early prices out there, and I've seen a couple of early prices for the title next season, Arsenal are behind Liverpool in the betting, and I would
about plus 250, aren't they? 5 to 2ish, plus 250.
I'm not going to learn my lesson, and I'm probably going to go in again on Arsenal because I think that team's young enough. The manager's going nowhere. They're probably going to strengthen where they need to. Declan Rice is going to be a machine next year in that number 8 role, and then they can just maybe learn from their mistakes of this season, and I think they'll be bang there again next season. But credit to Liverpool, they've done an amazing job to do what he's done after what Jurgen Klopp did at the club as well, and take them to the next level. Very, very smart man, analytically brilliant, has just tweaked things to make them better. Gravenberch in the 6, keeping Salah and all the right players in the right position. Very, 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 very impressive work from Slot. But again, I think they've been priced up as favourites for next year, and I'm not so sure at this precise moment, especially with the old guard getting a little bit older as well, and Salah now since he signed his contract, it's been about 10 games actually. The last 10 games of the season, Salah's been actually very mediocre. So I would worry a little bit for him next season about trying to repeat what he's done this year. And if he doesn't fire to the levels he has done, and then Liverpool wouldn't have won the league. So it's very interesting title race next year. Not sure there's much between all three of those at the head of the market, with Man City knocking around as well. But I would actually make Arsenal favourites still. And I'm not learning my lesson, Dan. Not learning it.
some really good comments on YouTube at the minute. I'm not going to go through them all, but the Saki Oakley makes some good comments about Arsenal here and Liverpool. Likewise, Joe. And we talk about a number 9 as well. Arsenal surely have got to go in for one of the big boys. I'm not quite sure who they're going to get. We mentioned Šeško and Gyökeres. Maybe it's someone else that we've not heard of. But just one final thing. A 3-way go for the title next season. When's the last time you saw, Lewis, 3 teams at plus 255 to 2 or shorter at the start of a Premier League season? I don't think it's happened in the modern era. I don't think.
No, that makes it really exciting for next season. Especially, I think you probably factor in the Man City points deduction and financial irregularities charges, which could come next season as well, into that. So maybe actually, if you were pricing it up just on a level straight line, then maybe Man City would even be favourites because that's surely factored into the price. So it is a fascinating betting heat, and you can make cases for every single team, I think. But I do think Liverpool are a little bit short just from my early knock-ins. And if Arsenal could just cut out the silly mistakes next season, they're going to be thereabouts, aren't they? I mean, they've been so good for 3 or 4 seasons consistently, and there's nothing really is going to change next year, I don't think.
Yeah, more points than anyone else over the last 3 seasons, but they haven't won it, and that's what it matters. 55MS says, who you guys got for Udinese? We'll talk about that game a little bit later on. Yeah, keep the chat coming in. Genevieve says Liverpool avoided injuries. Joe says if Arsenal, I'd go for Gyökeres David, who's at Lille, isn't he? Or Sesko. Villa fans ever talking futures. Want to continue to fade United. Yeah, some really good title chat. Obviously, that's for next season. Just one thing before we get into the picks today. There's one live market left when it comes to the Premier League, and that's top 5. I asked the boys on the Premier League show who they liked, Lewis, and basically Nigel and Jack both said, look, as far as we can see, it's the top 5 now. The top 5 will get Champions League. So that's obviously Liverpool and Arsenal. We're not quoting them there. Then City, Newcastle and Forest. As Newcastle and Chelsea both won at the weekend in the Premier League, their prices shortened a little bit here. I mean, do you see Chelsea sneak? I mean, do you see the top 5 as it is now staying that way? Is the value outside it? What do you think? Who might be the 3 that will finish in the top 5, presuming Liverpool and Arsenal are going to get there?
I still think Chelsea might have a wobble here, to be honest. That price looks short to me on Chelsea. I'd be fading that. I'd want to probably get against them. Having watched them again at the weekend, I just thought they were very predictable and quite easy to defend against Everton. I know they got the goal, which made all the difference, but created just 0.8 worth of expected goals and did the same against Fulham, and then they scored with 2 sort of long-range strikes from distance. And I've just got my doubts really about the former Cole Palmer still as well. He hasn't scored in 1,200 minutes now in Premier League, and I think he hasn't had a goal involvement in 14 of his last 16 appearances, which is absolutely incredible considering the levels he was hitting at the start of the season. So something's certainly going wrong with Palmer, whether it's a fitness thing, whether it's a confidence thing, whether it's the manager. Something isn't right. And when your whole sort of game plan and team is built around him creating things, that's a problem, I think. And they've still got to play Nottingham Forest, Newcastle. I think they've got to play Liverpool as well, haven't they? So a real tough run in for Chelsea. And they might have to just negotiate this Conference League semi-final and final as well. So
final, yeah,
of course. So yeah, Chelsea for me too short at that price. I think there might be a wobble to come still, just the way they construct their attacks, and they don't. It's a very sort of slow, predictable way of playing under Maresca, and when it's not working, it looks really bad, I think. And I can see them slipping up in those big games against Newcastle and Forest. I would not be surprised if they falter over the running.
Meslier's goalkeeper says, afternoon guys. Joe says pro Wolves without Cunha next season, ? Joe says Alonso front runner for Real Madrid, probably. King Savvy says Liverpool will strengthen too. Sir Isaac Newton, yes. Sharp t-shirt, yes. Thanks for that, Sir Isaac. Villa Van says, back Villa. We've got Spurs, Man United left to play. Easy 6 points. 55NS says, yeah, City have really stepped up their game, especially their defence. Can't believe Chelsea is still up there. They never seem to win most weeks. This is very truth. And Michael says, the amount of London derby games makes winning the league very difficult for Arsenal. It's always something that's talked about, Michael. I know that nearly a third of the game of derbies and Brighton, which is London by the sea, sort of. Interesting thoughts on that. Look, let's get into some picks for today. That's why we're all here. We have got a number of games that we're going to talk about. First up is it is a big game in the Championship. I mean, Liverpool, Leeds. This is framed around Lewis, how much Leeds want to win the title, and whether it's a thing for them. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but obviously the aim is just to get Premier League football, which they have. Does it matter if they come first or second? They're minus 265. They've been bet a little bit today, but they've been getting sent off, minus 300, minus 400 last 2 home games. And now they've got promotion. Are we expecting them to ease off against a Bristol City side? And this is the other side of the coin, obviously, who know that if they win, they will guarantee a playoff spot. But Bristol City, I don't really know how they are a top six team at the minute. I was looking back at their form this season. Their longest winning run in the Championship this season is how many games? Their longest winning run.
I mean, I don't want to ruin your stats, so I'll give.
It's two. It's
327. There we go.
It's two. It's two.
Yeah.
How can you be a top 6 team if you've only won back-to-back games and you've not won 3 on the spin or 4 on the spin or 5 on the spin? I don't get it. I mean, I think Leeds are probably a play on the Asian line here. I mean, I know you're looking at different markets here, but generally, how are you framing this game?
Well, I think if this was 30, 35 years ago and the team had just won promotion, I would be a bit worried that the players have been on what we would call a bender for the past sort of few days, and the manager have let them go and do what they like. But this is the modern day now. These players are so professional and they're so finely tuned. They would have probably had a night out, a few drinks, and then back into work the next day with a clear focus that they want to go and win this title, I think. And I wouldn't have any doubts about Leeds dropping their levels really for this game. I don't think there's a huge opportunity there for them to go and win the title, and I do think it matters to managers and players if they can get their hands on a bit of silverware. It would be incredible if both Leeds and Burnley win their remaining games. They both finish on plus 100 points, and that's the first time in English League. The first time in English League history that's ever happened, which is a phenomenal achievement by both those teams. Or does it just suggest how average and mediocre a lot of teams are in the Championship? And I suppose we're going to find that out next season, Dan, aren't we? With Leeds going up and obviously Burnley going up, and how they're going to fare. Because, I mean, it's you've always got to be looking ahead, especially because how much I cover the Premier League, and most of my analysis and most of my tips and my bets are involving Premier League teams. So I always want to be looking ahead, and you have to ask the question: are they going to be able to sustain next season? I'm not sure, and play well in the Premier League and pick up points, because the last 5 seasons, 10 of the 15 promoted teams have been immediately relegated back to the Championships, and obviously the last 6 have all gone straight back down, haven't they? And gone down with whimpers as well. So I think the Leeds hierarchy have got to make some big decisions in the summer about how to make this Leeds team Premier League sort of ready and competitive, and make sure they're ready to go. And maybe one of the decisions they have to make is about the manager, which is probably a mad thing to say, because he's an absolute promotion specialist in the Championship. But when he goes up to the Premier League, he's always struggled with.
Are you saying get rid?
When I read this stat out, then I would probably be in the case of potentially having a little look to see who's available, because he's only won 6 of his 49 games as a Premier League manager, which drops from a 55% win rate in the Championships to 12% in the Premier League. And as you mentioned, I think, people are thinking there's some reports going around that they might be looking for a replacement. It would be incredibly harsh, but this is a very tough business, and they think that these guys who make the big decisions have got to make these big calls to try and sustain themselves. And would it be the right call? Just looking at ran some of the numbers earlier, and of the last 27 promoted sides, 10 teams have gone on to change their manager either in the summer or during the following season, and 9 of those 10 still ended up getting relegated. So it doesn't matter. That's a case to keep Farker. So there's numbers and data out there which are on both sides for the manager. But I'm not sure. What would you do? I obviously you're going to be potentially irating a fan base there, aren't you, and making it a negative start to the season if you get rid of a guy that's won so many points for your club over the 2 years. What would you do?
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, let's face it, and with respect to Leeds fans, I think at some stages over the course of this season, there's been a body of them that didn't want him in charge anyway. They believe that they should have been over the hills and winning the Championship by sort of March, April, because of the squad that they have. I'm a little bit of a traditionalist, and I will stick with him, but you see it in other leagues, especially in Italy. You know, there are managers that get you out of the second tier, and then you get rid and you get someone else in. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I tend to think that if it was me, I'd probably stick with him. But I don't know. I mean, as regards this game, I mean, Troy put up some of the stats here. They've won their last 4. I mean, in my eyes, if you're backing Leeds today, you back them on the Asian line at -1, which is a push if they win their game. They're -134. They've come in a little bit. They've won 17 of 22 at home and 13 of 22 by more than 1 goal. And you've got that push for the win as it stands. If it's 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, whatever, I think they will win by more than 1. That would be how I would play tonight's game. I've got a prop bet as well, but I mean, what's your play in this one, Lewis?
Yeah, I'll stay clear of the traditional markets here. You know, I mean, Bristol City are only 3 places behind Leeds in the division, but there's such a massive gap in quality and points totals between the team. I mean, you're right about Bristol City. I was nodding along to everything you said there. Their metrics are very mid-table, and it's been all about their home form this season, which is the reason why they've just had a little bit of an edge on the rest of the teams in mid-table, and they're up in fifth, and they only need one more win now to secure their playoff place. And I think the percentage chances of them making the playoffs is something like 93%. Because they've got Preston, I think, on the final day, who's
That's right,
at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they look home and hose for the playoffs. So. This is a bit of a free hit for them tonight, if you think of it like that, because they've got the safety net of that Preston game if things don't go wrong. So, again, maybe if the manager wants to just release the shackles a bit and say, let's just go and have a shootout and see if we can nick it, then maybe that's the case. But haven't got any inside information to know that that's how they're going to play. And I'm not sure if they're capable of really going toe-to-toe with Leeds anyway. So that might be a bit of a foolish move. They've only won one of their last 14 Championship away games, which is absolutely crazy when you consider they're fifth in the league.
Exactly.
And their win came 2-0 away at Millwall as well in March, and that's notoriously a very difficult place to win. So just sums up the Championship, doesn't it? It's just a very bonkers league to try and analyse in that mid-table. Any team that put a run together and find a striker that's in a bit of form, they can win 4 or 5 in a row, and all of a sudden they're in the playoff picture, a bit like what Millwall have done, and they're on the cusp of getting in the playoffs on that final day. So really, really, really bonkers league to try and make any sense of. But yeah, the Leeds home win here, -225. It's not really my kind of price, but I mean, if you're into buying money, I suppose, then probably you should be able to get a return there, considering how good and how motivated this Leeds team are. But I'm actually heading to the cards market for my bet, Dan here. And it's the referee. I thought the cards line was quite low here, and I'm surprised when you've got this referee in charge as well, because we've got the strictest referee in the Championship this season, who from those that have taken charge 16 games or more, because he's averaging 4.3 yellow cards across his 22 games, and he's shown 4 red cards in that time too. And his name's James Bell, and he's a very card-happy referee. And I'm not sure the market has got that factored in here, actually. So the line's set at 3 cards, which I think is a little low based on that refereeing appointment, and a potential for the game to be a little bit more competitive and spicy than what maybe the market's predicting, with the fact that Leeds are already up and maybe the market is thinking that their motivation levels are going to be lower than usual. But I think Leeds will want to go and try and win the title. And look at the way that Burnley played at QPR at the weekend. Yeah. They absolutely demolished them 5-0. They've got their sights set on making a statement and trying to win the title. And I think Leeds might respond tonight. And as you say, if Bristol City come here and have a go, thinking that if we win, we're in the playoffs, that's a big carrot to aim for. And even if they lose, they've still got another chance to do it on Saturday. This could be a more competitive end-to-end game than maybe the market is expecting. So I'm just happy to row in here with the over 3.5 cards line here. So I need 4 cards for it to cop, and it's plus 150 with Bet Rivers, which is it's a bigger price than what we'd normally expect to see on a cards line. We normally sort of be looking at over 4.5 for a price like this. So I'm liking the referee appointment. He's a very strict referee. He's not afraid to use his cards to make his point. So yeah, plus 150 over 3.5 cards will be the way I'm playing that tonight, Dan.
Just saw Joe say, talking about Pirot, anytime scorer. I started to go down a sort of, let's have a look at the sort of scorers and shot on target. And Pirot, who got 4 against Stoke, didn't he? He's got 19, so he's in a good position to win the Golden Boot, if that is such a thing in the Championship. I'm not quite sure what it's called, but top scorer in the league, regardless. 11 of his 19 have come at home. But of his 15 starts at home this season, he's only netted in 3 of them. So wow. I'm a little bit plus 110 in time goal score. I mean, he'll probably score tonight. I don't want to put anyone off it, but he's not for me. I looked at shot on target for Manor Solomon, minus 122 for just 1 or more shot on target. He's had a shot on target which is his last 3, 4 of his last 5, 17 of 28 starts. All the numbers add up. He's minus 122 to have 1 shot or more on target. Quite like that. And if you want to split your stakes, anytime goal scorer, plus 280, scorer or assist, plus 180. He's got 9 goals, 11 assists in the Championship this season. We've got a house special as well. Both teams to score and Leeds to win is plus 195. Disky's asking Lewis about over 3.5 goals. Do you see a lot of goals? I get dragged into Championship thinking there's loads of goals, but I find it very, very difficult to predict overs and unders in that league.
Well, if I knew that Bristol City were going there to try and just win the game and just see, let's have a go and have a free hit, let's try and win it, then overs are a play. But I say I've got no inside information about how Bristol City are approaching it. It's very unusual for a very sort of analytically based manager like Liam Manning to go and do that and just go rogue and go let's go play a different formation and just take it to them and try and surprise them. So yeah, nothing really stood out in the goals market. It was definitely the cards market where my interest lies tonight in that game.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Duncan's made the point here, saying Leeds will do tonight what Liverpool did yesterday: shackles off, carnival atmosphere, and it is their first game since they got promoted, because they'd already played, hadn't they? And they were looking at the Burnley game. So that as you say, massive party atmosphere. They can see them winning big. What about Leeds? Both teams have scored 2-10. Says Joe. Yeah, you can certainly get involved in that one. I would have thought maybe if Bristol City do have a bit of a go, watch the first 5 or 10 minutes, see how Bristol City is setting up. Maybe see if they're throwing caution to the wind with that one. Let us know what you think about the Leeds game. I'm going to play -1 Leeds on the Asian line at -134. Is it now? I know it's short, but I'll play that Solomon shot on target. We're looking for over 3.5 cards. The line, isn't it, Lewis? For the cards bet. Yeah. We have got 3
cards for a red. It's 2 cards for a red card with Bet Rivers, I believe. So it's that's the way they do it. So yeah. So one card for a yellow, 2 for a red. So a nice little early red card would be perfect for that, wouldn't it?
That'll do. I mean, look, if Bristol City, as you say, they come flying out and think, we can maybe catch Leeds here. It's an interesting way to play. We have got 3 Italian games to take a look at for you. A couple that I've got some plays in, one not so much. One that I think is interesting is the early game, and we had 1 or 2 of our commenters asking about this one earlier. Udinese against Bologna. Bologna are -127. They need a win to go back into the Champions League spots. Udinese have switched off for the season. They have lost their last 5. I look back because we talked about it on the European show, and they tend to do this. If they are safe, they tend to do this all the time. The last 3 seasons, they've played 13 games in April. So that's this season and the last 2. They've only won 1. They've drawn 3 and they've lost 9. If they're safe, it doesn't matter who's in charge. I can't remember the name of the German coach who's in charge at the moment. He's new this season. But it's like there's something in the club and it's like, well, this is it. We're safe. That's it. Good night. God bless. I couldn't put anyone off Udinese on the money line here. And James Easton on the European show suggested as a lean Bologna to win. They were -115. They're now, what are they now? Again, -127. So they have been bet. Yeah. Udinese have failed to score in their last 3 and 4 of the last 5. Both teams to score no in 7 of their last 9, but you can see all the unders and both teams to score no's are short. They've got Luca and Tovan, their 2 top goal scorers. They've contributed for 18 goals between them. They've only scored 36, so that's 50% of their goals. The 2 players that provide them are not playing tonight. And at the back, Yaka Biol is suspended, having picked up his 10th yellow card in his last game. So I thought about the unders and the both teams score no, but they're pretty short. Then I started to look at Bologna, and they've had some tough games recently. And I think -127 is fair. They did beat Inter in Serie A. They made it through to the Coppa Italia final by beating Empoli over 2 legs. The last leg was last Thursday. So they are through to that. Haven't won it since the 70s, so that's a big thing for them. But the Champions League qualification would be huge for them. They've won 6 of the last 8 in Serie A. But the angle I thought in here, if you didn't want to go minus money on the money line, was Bologna over 1.5 team total, which is plus money at plus 105. 9 of the 16 away, and against the bottom half, 5 of the 9 of their 9 fixtures they've scored 2 or more goals. And when it comes to Udinese, they've conceded 2 or more at home in Serie A in 8 of 16 and 6 of 8 against the top half. And if they've turned it in for the season, then I don't think they're going to be too interested in that. So they're my Bologna plays. Joe says Bologna team total over 1.5 is plus 114. Well, I'll take that. It was plus 105 when I was putting the notes together early, so I'll take the plus 114, Joe. Thanks for that. James reckons Bologna are a decent bet. They have come in a little bit. And when it comes to the money, 90% of the tickets and the money have come for Bologna, 86% of the money and the tickets have come on the overs. So if you're looking at that one, those are the ones that have been backed. Let's have a chat, Lewis, about the Lazio Parma game, because you potentially have got a little bit of an angle in here. Lazio are minus 275. They've been back today. Parma plus 750, tie plus 360. Myself and Steve talked about unders on this game, which I'll rattle through some stats for shortly, but I know you might have a little angle in for us here for this one, Lewis.
Yeah, you say the market is absolutely screaming for Lazio here, isn't it?
It is. I don't know why.
comfortable evening, but I don't see it at all really, because Parma have really improved defensively in terms of like structure and cohesion. Unbeaten in 6 games as well. Beat Juventus last time out as well. And since his manager's come in, hasn't it? Christian Chivu, former Inter Milan player, really tightened up defensively. And just looking at, I was running their numbers across the last 11 games they've played. Their expected goals against data, which obviously is a metric to to provide what level of chances they're offering up. It's very impressive. 1.12 per 90, and that's over an 11-game sample size, and that's normally a sort of a figure you'd expect from sort of a top 6 team. And in that time as well, they're only conceding 2.9 shots on target per game, which completely marries up with that strong XG against figure. So really baffled to see why they were so unfancied in the market. I know there's Lazio have got much more to play for at the top end of the league, but I thought Parma were very attractive here on the Asian line with a one of the quarter head start at -114. So that means we get full stakes profit if they draw or win, half stakes profit if Lazio win by 1, and we only lose if Lazio win by 2 or more. And if you'd have played this bet in Parma's last 16 games, you'd have only lost your full stake once. And that's when they were beaten by 2 goals or more by Lecce in January. So, yeah, I really think there's a chance to get Parma on side here on the handicaps. And it's also worth noting Lazio actually haven't won at home at the Stadio Olimpico for 2 months as well. So incredible. Really strange. I don't know where the moves come from. So unless someone knows something that I don't, I just wanted to get with Parma here to make this a very sort of fiddly, tight game for Lazio with all the pressure and expectation on them. Parma seemed very happy to sit deep and soak it under this manager, and they're doing it very, very well. So yeah, I want to get them on side tonight, I think, with a handicap in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a fair play. I mean, it's incredible. They've not won for 2 months in Serie A. They've got a pretty poor record since the turn of the year at home. Myself and Steve talked about the unders. He gave on the European show a lean under 2.75 because, as we can see, the under 2.5 line is +105. I mean, it's the outsider of the two, which none of us really got. You could go to 2.75, it'd be minus money, but it gives you a little bit of insurance if there were 3 goals in the game. It'd just be a half loss. But just to run through some of the numbers that we talked about on Thursday, Lazio's last 4 all been under 2.5, and they are regressing to the mean. Average goals in Lazio games in Serie A this season is 2.97. At home, it's 3.25, but that's massive overachievement according to their XG figures. And generally, over the course of the last few months, it's all come down. The last 10 Serie A games have averaged 2.7, and the last 10 in terms of expected goals is 2.24. So it's a classic regression in terms of what we've seen over the last 4 games with their games all being under 2.5 goals. Lazio can go 5th. I understand that. You know, it's depending on what happens with Bologna earlier, they're still pretty much in the mix for a Champions League spot. I think that's where the market move comes from in the money line. But you know, they can win 1-0 for us, and we'll still win on the Asian line that Lewis is giving you, and also the under 2.5. I'm going to give you. I think under 2.5 is a really good play. I looked at the team. You can't see anything untoward with Lazio or Parma. So I think that those two are really interesting plays in terms of what we've seen, where the money's going. Most of the money on Lazio, we know that. We've seen the market movers, but most of the money is on under. 60% of the money on under. You don't see that too often. I know we talk about unders quite a lot, but generally the public money is usually on over. Not the case. And just a very brief word on the Verona Cagliari game. I'm not going to give you a play in this one. We've had 337 games in Serie A this season, Lewis, as I'm sure you're aware. And +165, the tie, is the shortest price that there has been all season. Now, it comes to this day. I mean, look, you'd probably find one firm that goes under +165 somewhere, but to see +165 the tie, I mean, you're not going to get +165 the tie, I think, in a Premier League match anytime soon. I mean, it's a crazy short price, and I think it's just that time of year. You know, a draw sort of suits them both. It's Italian football, you know. Read between.
What are you trying to say, Dan?
I'm saying that it might not be the most intense game. It's 14th versus 16th. The draw takes Verona 8 points clear of the drop, and for Cagliari 6 points clear of the drop. I mean, if you think that,
what I will say on that, when the draw price is really, really short, like it is here, and if both teams are just going to be happy with a 1-1 0-0. Sometimes these prop markets don't completely align with the way that it goes. So under under total match shots is always overpriced when a draw is in the mix, because the game is potentially going to drift if towards the end of the game, if they're both 1-1, 0-0, and the draw is good for both, and the shots dry up and the unders line doesn't always go along with the draw price, because they're two obviously completely different markets. So I haven't got the prices up with the under shots line, but if anyone has a little look tonight at the under shots line for that game, that would be where my theory goes with the game ending a draw, because I always want to play the underline.
I mean, the crazy thing here, Verona have had the fewest amount of draws in Serie A. I've only had 5. It's the fewest by an absolute stretch, yet they're plus 160 here, the draw. It doesn't make any sense, but that's Italian football when you get to the end of the season. I mean, if you think it's a load of rubbish and you want to go counterintuitive, there's always that, no draw option. You can basically bet any of the two. So, when we talk about double chance, people are usually playing draw on one of the team. You can play either side to win.
1 or 2, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can play. I mean, it's short, but you could play it, and you could maybe sort of parlay it up with. And again, the goals line is short, so if you think, hang on, no, this is just going to be like 3-1 to any of the two teams, you could parlay it up for about even money over 1.5 goals and no draw. But look, I think it's one of those games that you sort of steer clear of, really. Most of the money has come on Verona. Most of the money has come on overs, incidentally. We have got a house special when it comes to the Serie A action tonight. At least 1 goal scored in the first half of every Serie A match. There's only 3, so just 1 goal plus 180. Don't know if that floats anybody's boat, but you can find it on the site. We are going to wrap up with just some thoughts on European action. Lewis is heavily involved in Paris Saint-Germain. He'll be one of the few who'll be shouting for, PSG. Spurs fans will be shouting for PSG against Arsenal tomorrow. That's got a bit more interesting, hasn't it, with PSG? I looked at their team for that defeat against Nice, and I thought, well, they're bound to rotate. That was, I think, their strongest team, wasn't it, against Nice?
No, it was, yeah. But I think they created enough to win about 27 games in that match, so it didn't worry me too much. I mean, they created a lot of chances. I think the goalkeeper had an absolutely amazing game. So no, I'm not too worried about my PSG boys. I've got a lot of faith in them. They rode the storm at Villa Park. A lot of people were seeing that as a negative thing, that the fact they came so close to nearly throwing it away at Villa Park, but they rode the storm and they managed the game very well in the last 15 minutes, I thought. And that, again, I'm probably a little bit biased because I'm a little bit emotionally drawn to this PSG team. They've given me some very exciting anti-post bets to dream with here. So, but no, I'm quietly confident they can get through these 2 legs down. It's going to be obviously very difficult because Arsenal are a great side, but no Partey in the first leg. What was he doing in Madrid when he got that booking? Absolute idiot, isn't he? And no Gabriel as well, which is obviously a big loss for Arsenal. So I'm quietly confident that PSG will get through, but keeping it all nice and calm, not getting too excited. We'll see how it goes. How do you see the game going? Obviously, you're going to be covering the game.
Yeah, no, I will be there. It'll be a great atmosphere. I think Arsenal. I quite fancy him to win the first leg. I think that I was talking about it elsewhere today with a few pals, and we're not quite sure what that midfield makeup is going to be, because the natural thing would be Mikel Merino play midfield and Trossard up front. I think when Arsenal play against the rank and file of the Premier League, that sort of works, but I'm not quite sure it works against better teams. I'd rather have Mikel Merino, like Real Madrid, playing up front, because he offers something so different. Movement is great, can score as we saw against Real Madrid. I'd rather that, but with no Partey and Jorginho, I don't think he's fit. So what do you do with that sort of left side midfield player if you're playing, Rice and Odegaard? That is the team news conundrum, I think, at the minute. I mean, if it was up to me, Arteta's not going to do it. If it was up to me, I'd play Mars Lewis-Skelly in midfield, and I put Calafiori, who is fit but he hasn't played for a while, at left back. But that would be a chance. That would be a fly.
Oh, yeah, he would. I'd love to see that, because I love Lewis-Skelly. He seems to be able to deal with anything that's thrown at him, doesn't he? So, and also the fouls won in that department in the midfield. If he plays central midfield, he draws fouls like no other player I've ever seen when he's 18. Really, that'd be exciting if they go with that. But I think without Partey, as you say, there's a real conundrum for Arteta because he's going to have to reshuffle it in there, and he might have to move Rice into the 6 maybe, and then that takes away. I think
he has to because I
don't think
takes
away such an attacking weapon of him playing in that number 8 role. He's been brilliant the last 2 months or so, and that's the position he will play for the rest of his career, I think. So to move him back in the 6 now, it feels like a bit of a waste, but sometimes needs must. And I agree with you about Marino having to play as the centre forward. I think Trossard's a bit of a flat track bully when it comes to the centre forward. So yeah, I like Marino as that centre forward. So yeah, really excited for the game. It's going to be
a difficult one. I will probably end up backing Arsenal. I mean, they're even money-ish, so I'll probably bet them. Very quickly, any thoughts on Inter Barca since we're on the Champions League? I mean, Inter in a world of pain at the moment, out of the Coppa Italia, beaten back to back, and suddenly off the pace in Serie A, second, having been leading the league for a long time. Any thoughts in that one before we get on to what I know you've got?
Yeah, the front two, I think, for the Inter against that Barcelona high line, Martinez and Thuram, probably going to cause them quite a lot of problems over these 2 weeks. If Thuram
plays, that's the question, isn't it? He's
Yeah, so I think they've got an edge there, I think, in terms of getting behind that Barcelona offside trap, which is a thing of beauty, really. It is amazing to watch, but if you get it right, you're in. So very risky business sometimes. And that's another interesting game. I didn't really find too many angles on that one, but the bet I really like in the week, and I just want to raise it. I think one of the guys said it in the chat. Actually, it's both teams to score. Spurs versus Bodo Glimt on Thursday, which is knocking around the even money mark, which is a fantastic price. That price will not hold, I don't think. Because in Spurs games, I mean, we all know how terrible Spurs have been for a long time now under Ange Postecoglou, with the players looking like they've completely switched off from him and his methods. Bodo are huge runners, I think, to qualify anyway in the outright market to make the final at the prices. But they've got a few suspensions going into that first leg, which is maybe holding this price up bigger than it should be. But the numbers on Tottenham's home record in terms of goals conceded just makes me want to just pile into this both teams to score price. They've kept 2 clean sheets in the last 32 Premier League home matches, Tottenham, which is absolutely incredible for a team of this ilk and stature in the Premier League. And then if you just go through all the crap teams in the Premier League, Dan, Southampton, they scored at Tottenham. Leicester, they scored at Tottenham and won. Ipswich, they scored at Tottenham and won. So I know Van der Ven's back, and I know Bodo Glimt have got injuries, but this is a very experienced European team, this Norwegian outfit. They've been around the block a bit. They tasted success against an Ange Postecoglou team back in 2022 in the Europa Conference League. Bodo Glimt knocked Celtic out of the last 16. I think they won 5-1 on aggregate over 2 legs. The manager's still the same. A lot of the players are still there. They're very experienced at these away European nights, and I think they can go there. They'll play their game. They'll create chances like every team does against Tottenham with the way that they play, and I think they can get on the score sheet. And that both teams to score even money, can't see that lasting anywhere around even money. It's a fantastic bet to attack on Thursday, I think.
Get involved right now. Quick wrap up before we let Lewis go. Joe says no party. Do a 2 or more shots on target plus 400. One for Mr. Eastham, certainly. Duncan says Angie's a dead man walking. If Bodo get a result, Ange getting the sack. Yeah, Spurs are favourites to win the Europa League. Let that sink in. Right. Very, very quickly then, because we're running out of time. Your Leeds play is, Lewis?
Yeah, over 3.5 cards at plus 150 with Bet Rivers. I think that's I think the line's too short there. We need to take advantage of it. I think it could be a more intense game than's being billed, and the referee loves a card. So let's get on there. Over 3.5.
Over 3.5 cards. I like Solomon any shot on target and Leeds -1, I think. And the Lazio game, you were on an Asian line.
Yes.
Lazio, was it? Yeah, Lazio Parma. Yeah.
Yeah, Parma plus 1.25 head start on the Asian line, minus 114. Yeah, I think the market moves gone too much the way of Lazio, I think, and we have to get Parma on side. Tightened up defensively very well under this new manager, and I think they can keep it relatively competitive.
Yeah, we like Bologna on the money line, and indeed team total over 1.5. Have a look at that, and also wonders on that Lazio game. Myself and Steve like that. We're going to leave the Verona game. Udinese lineups out, rotation as expected, says Joe. Yeah, I think that. I mean, that's kicking off in about 40 minutes time, so you get your bets down for that one if you like Bologna. Team total over 1.5. And finally, Spurs both teams to score yes from Lewis as well. If you're playing,
it
may well change.
I love that bet so much. You're going to get a great run for your money, but yeah, it's a great bet. I think just the numbers and the way that Bodo are going to attack the game and Spurs' defensive issues, and the fact that it's going to be nervous at Tottenham as well. The fans aren't at one with their team at the moment. Anything goes wrong in that match, they're not going to back them. They're going to turn. So really think great opportunities to get Bodo on side in lots and lots of markets. But both teams to score in that first leg, yeah, really stood out to me at the prices.
Lewis, that is your lot for us. Thanks for your company. Don't forget, we've got Tennis Live coming up at 1 p.m. They're talking Madrid, WTA and ATP, presumingly that the power's back on. But they'll be talking about tomorrow's game anyway, so stay with us for that one. Back live with a tennis show. Soccer show is going to be back tomorrow, of course, Champions League. There'll be an in-depth discussion on that Arsenal-PSG first leg. From myself and from Lewis, though, for now, it is goodbye.